So this chapter is dealing with the chromatic scale, and I just want to mention a couple things about this. The chromatic scale simply involves every possible pitch that you can play within an octave. And just to define an octave, it's when we have a particular note, like say this note, which is an A. I can play this A in different places on the keyboard, and they're all considered A's. Basically, what an octave is simply taking a particular frequency. In this case, A is 440 cycles per second, that particular wavelength. And if I play this A, I'm halving it, so this would be 220 cycles per second. And this one would be double that, it would be 880. But they all sound fundamentally like an A. Okay? And that's the idea of an octave. So when we look at our keyboard and how we divide up the notes here, in this case, this is C to another C. How many notes do we have between these two C's? There are actually 12 different pitches, 12 different possible notes that we can play. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then we're back to where we started, C. So when I get to this B, I've actually played 12 different notes before I'm back at a C where I started. Okay? So basically, looking at this, you know, the musical alphabet involves A through G. We start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then we start over again, A. The black keys are accidentals. They're either sharps or flats. And they can be called either, like this black key, it can be listed as a C sharp because it's up from a C, a half step, or it can be called a D flat. It's down a half step. So it's either, and that's an inharmonic note, which you'll know from your lesson on the chromatic scale and on pitch. So the biggest thing to keep in mind is if you're writing a chromatic scale, which is every possible pitch that you can play, is that typically when we ascend, if we're going up the scale and we need to use accidentals or these black keys, we are going to label those notes as sharps. So when I was describing this a minute ago, C going up a half step or to the next available note, this would be C sharp. Then up a half step to D, D sharp, and so on. When we descend, if I'm coming down the scale, I will tend to call those flats. So if I'm starting on the C and I'm going to go back down chromatically to this C, playing every note, C, this is a B, this would now be B flat, this would be A, this would be A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, and then back on C. So that's the biggest thing to keep in mind, is that when you're writing any sort of chromatic inflection to something, whether you're going up, ascending, or whether you're going down, descending, does have an impact on how we would actually write that note or what we would label it as.